Welcome to the Light Gate. We have a big night ahead of us. Somebody we dearly care about is on with us tonight. He already has a presence on the internet in podcasting and live voice, everything. Preston's going to introduce him to you in a minute. Right now, we are coming to you from the beautiful city of New Orleans at 105.3 FM at the United Public Radio Network and the United Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Roku, we're Tumblr, we are Facebook. The Lightgate is also on my Facebook. We have YouTube, and we're so good to go. Preston, over to you.
Thanks, Dolly. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm super excited. We have, let me see, what episode is this? This is episode 13 of The Lightgate. And as Dolly says, I'm Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran. And we're super excited to have you with us tonight because we do have a wonderful guest. But let me just say a quick hi to some of you who have joined us today. I'm always excited to see you all here. And let's see, I see some definite familiar names. Foggy Notions podcast. Thanks so much. Yeah, here's to 1 million views. That could happen. You never know. Hi, Magnus. Nice to see you here. John Smith. Hello. Rad Peanut. Always nice to see you here. Oh, hi, Susan. Very glad you could join us tonight. Bryson's Folly. Let's see. Oh, Louise. Thank you, Louise. You were here last time, so thanks for joining us again. Hi, Janice Connet. Let's see who else has joined us. W. Decker. Well, yeah, it looks like we have a nice big audience here with us. Dolly's disappeared for a second. Hopefully she'll be right back. Oh, Renee. Hi, Renee. Nautical Strings. Let's see. Dana Matthews. You're here as well. Oh, Real Badgers. Nice to see you. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Zenfire. Yeah, it looks like a nice big audience. So I'm super excited to have you all here. Hopefully Dolly will be back in a second. I'm not sure what's going on. There she is. Freaking me out.
Sorry.
It's all right. Okay, yeah, well, I'm super happy to see all of you here. Zenfire, Odyssey Counseling, Betty Duncan. And yeah, I'm so glad you could join us because we do have a really wonderful guest. It's someone we've both known for quite some time and have spoken with extensively. He's got a pretty interesting story to tell, to say the least. And his name is Marquise Williams. And let me just read his bio here. Marquise Williams is, of course, a UFO investigator, investigating a lot of different things, very much into philosophy as well. He's an experiencer, podcaster, radio host, and voice actor. His main interest and focus has been on the UFO, UAP phenomenon, non-human intelligences, and philosophy. I took a bunch of philosophy classes in college, so that should be fun to talk a little bit about. Marquise has been studying the phenomenon for 10 years and more recently has transitioned into researching and speaking about the phenomenon with other researchers as well. And you may recognize him. He is the weekend host of Dave Scott's hugely popular Spaced Out radio podcast. And Marquise is connecting with a lot of other researchers and experiencers. He has a lifetime of extraordinary UFO and alien experiences. He's been a guest on many podcasts, and in fact was a recent panelist at Contact in the Desert. So his story is truly supernatural, and to this day, Marquise strives to figure out what ET wants with him. As he writes, and I quote, "I believe that humanity is experiencing true contact from this non-human intelligence, and through that contact, there seems to be a message. Through this work, I hope to discover and clarify what that message is, alongside others who are searching for the truth. Although the truth may be elusive, it will reveal itself to those who are open-minded with an honest intention to know it." I could not agree more. So this is going to be all kinds of fun. Let me just bring you in, Marquise. I know you can hear me in the green room. There you are.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up, guys? It's a pleasure to be here. It's funny hearing your bio read this because you're like, I'm just a guy who talks about aliens on the internet, and then someone reads your bio and you're like, I guess I do have all those things going for me too, but that's not how I see myself. So thank you for making me sound kind of cool. You know?
Oh, you are cool. Are you kidding?
You are, definitely. I'm excited about it. One of the things I want to announce this tonight, just so everybody knows. Symmetry hasn't been put on audiobooks yet, and I've been searching and looking for somebody to read for the book. And we've decided, me and Preston, that we're putting Marquise in that seat, and he'll start reading in a couple of weeks, and we'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
And we're excited. So that's the voice. You're looking at him right now. That's
You'll I know you'll enjoy it because I like to hear myself talk too. So I really do. No, listen, my unicorn, I call her my unicorn. She says, you just like to hear yourself talk, don't you? Say, I guess that's why I became a voice actor, because I really enjoy just the I don't know, the resonance of my own voice. I want to hear myself talk about things that I'm passionate about, because what better perspective to learn from than your own? So in my mind, that's how I see it. I see it as a feedback loop, so to speak, to discover more about myself.
That's why people sing. Did you know that? They like to hear themselves sing. So it's an art form.
Yeah.
Speaking is just like singing. You're creating art.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm with you.
To music, but singing music is that much closer to it. So I totally get that.
Yeah. So, okay, so we want to know, where does this all begin for you?
Where does it? Oh, well, when I was just a fetus in my mother's tummy. No, let me think. So I was once a single-celled organism. No, I think that this all began when I was a kid. Probably the first experience is what I usually refer back to. When I was a kid, it was after my father passed away. And I had an experience in my grandmother's house where my dad was, for the most part, where I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw, the light, brightest light I've ever seen. And I've actually been talking to people about this lately to try to discover more about my experience. And the more that I talk about it, the more I realize just more and more things become interesting to me. And the one thing that I think is interesting is that the light was so bright, it's brighter than anything I've ever seen, even to this day. But yet when I got up and walked to the curtains and peeled back the curtains, it was just a beam of light. And so I don't understand, and again, I'm just reminiscing now, why the beam of light was shining so brightly into the window when all that I saw was just a beam of light pointing at the grass. So did they point the beam? Did they wake me up? Like, was the intention to wake me up, to get me to walk towards window? I have no idea, but that's just what it was. And when I saw that beam of light, it was like a cone that went down into the grass. And I just thought to myself, wow, that's weird. And so I followed the cone to its source, and it was a disc, an actual flying saucer with the dome on top. And it was wobbling really slow like this above the trees, just above the trees.
That's no, because that's what they do. They wobble.
Yeah.
One of the things I look for to
really
determine if someone's actually seen a UFO, because they have a tendency to sort of waver a little bit.
They bob and weave. Yeah. You know how a boat is on the ocean and it's in the water?
Yeah.
It's riding magnetic lines, magnetic fields. And it's like being on a boat on the sea, and you see it bobbing and weaving.
That makes perfect
sense. Where was this, Marquise?
This was in Englishtown, New Jersey, or I guess it would be, they changed it now. Woodville, New Jersey is what it is. And it was in my grandmother. She owned this massive amount of property, and it was all surrounded by literally woods, which is why it's probably called Woodville. And this was right in her backyard, in the backyard. I had thought it was the neighbors before I even got up. I thought it, because they do parties and stuff like that all the time, and they're good people. But I thought there was a bunch of cars, or maybe the police, because the bright lights were so bright. But no, it was this flying saucer. And as soon as I looked at it and I saw, I wasn't afraid. I didn't I just was curious, like, oh, wow, that's a flying saucer in my backyard, a UFO. And as I thought that, the light started to move towards the window where I was standing. And as soon as it got up the wall and then it hit me, no pain, just like I knew it hit me. And then I blacked out. And then I opened my eyes in a moment. And when I opened my eyes, I was laying down and tucked in my bed. So that's
How old were you?
I was anywhere, when I think back, I was anywhere between 11 and 13 years old. That's the range that I keep going by, because the dates are very difficult. When you're looking back at your memories, I'm thinking it was after my father passed, but that's around anywhere between 11 and 13 years old was when I was in New Jersey. So I'm still confused about the exact time, but anywhere from 11 to 13 years old is when I had that experience. That's the first one.
Well, wait, but I have a few questions, if I may.
Sure, yeah.
Were you alone in your room?
I was alone. Yep, I was alone. I used to sleep in the living room because my grandmother had this sectional that wrapped around the whole living room. And I thought that was so cool, because it's like, when you're a kid, like even as 11, 13-year-old kid, it's like you're sleeping on a giant bunk bed or a giant jumping place. Because I used to jump on the bed all the time. Don't tell my grandmother. But it was awesome. It pulled out into a bed, and then I had the bed and the other side of the sectional to lay on. It's massive. The whole freaking room is a bed. It was fun to me. So yeah, I was by myself in that second living room, where the window was the whole size of the wall, almost the entire size of the wall. It's a huge window.
Wow.
So how high up would you estimate this craft?
I would say if I were to try to guess, maybe 30 feet. Because it wasn't any higher than the trees. It was the trees were barely, the tip of them were barely like visible beyond the craft. So it had to be right at the very top of the trees. So not too high. Not too high.
Did you hear or feel any sort of a vibration in your ears?
Not that I can remember, not at all. No. And I know somebody asked me before about colors. The only, and this is, again, I only realized this having this conversation before when people asked me, there was almost like a blue tint to the area. And both times I had an abduction experience, there was a blue tint. Right. And I just thought it was ambient light, like a light's on and there's kind of an ambience of maybe a blue ambience, or ambiance. Yeah. But I don't know. That's the only thing that I can think of that I noticed that time. That time, no noises that I can remember, nothing, just a very silent, quiet hover,
Well, the blue light is significant. I've heard it a million times. Blue light filling the room often is what people will describe, or a beam of light coming right through the wall even.
Yeah, I don't know how that's possible. Yeah, that's weird. It's weird. Again, when you think about these experiences, you try to make sense of them without hypnosis. I don't want to do hypnosis. You can reveal little details if you're asked, and you think about it. But honestly, I don't want to relive, because the second time was terrifying.
Oh no!
I was terrified. Nothing happened. I just was scared.
I still have a few more questions, and then
sure.
We'll move on, because so this happened, and you're thinking, okay, UFO, and I suppose at that point you hadn't really thought about this subject.
No.
But, so did you tell anyone?
No.
What happened?
No way. I'm not gonna sound crazy. No way, man. I didn't say I was crazy. And so I just like, it's one of those things where I don't even know how to explain this. It's the only experience that I had that was so like that bizarre and fantastic that I just knew if I told someone, they'd think I was crazy. And so I just put it in the back of my mind like a repressed memory. And that's another thing that's weird. Why is that a response? Why would that be a response versus, oh my gosh, I just saw an alien spacecraft, or I just saw you. I don't know why I didn't. I just naturally just thought I probably should just keep this to myself, and then suppressed it.
Yeah, society does that to us. It programs you for it long before you're even thinking about it. I have a question. After you have fully conscious memory of that, what did happen, right?
Just to that point.
Well, to that point. Did it? If it faded for you, or you say repressed, what do you mean by repressed? Is it just something you quit thinking about?
I just quit thinking about it. It's more like, I just no, I'll never forget. I've always remembered it. Always remember that whole scenario. So yeah, but
it's very real. In other words, that's
it's very real. It's one of the most vivid memories I have of my whole life. The only thing is that I always felt like I just shouldn't talk about it. I know this is going to sound also weird. It's almost like I had this intuitive knowing that this is just for me to know and no one else to know. This is just my experience. I don't know.
I hear that a lot too.
The craft itself, what did it look like? Any markings
Gray,
on
yeah.
it?
So it was great. This is a good question too. And nobody's asked me what does a craft look like other than the shape of it. It had a gray color, but like a whitish gray tint to it. And it was rugged. It wasn't like a beautiful polished craft. It was kind of rugged, so to speak. Like you could see that.
Or something?
I don't know how else to explain it. So like it wasn't perfect metal. Let's put it that way. But you could tell it was a metallic kind of craft. So like a silver, white, gray, or something like that. The whole thing was uniform. I didn't see any variation of color whatsoever. But it wasn't like a perfectly polished craft. So that's the only thing, like a dulled metal.
Sometimes when they're coming in, the dulled is interesting to me because sometimes when they're coming in, they're in phase. And if they brought a light down to you, that means they were in phase. Okay. They're interdimensional at that point. They haven't fully jumped in with you. And you can see them through like a veil of something on it. And people describe it as a color, or like you're saying, like it looks rugged. It's like you're not actually seeing the exact surface of it. Like overlay of it.
I don't know about a haze, but like almost like it didn't, like I didn't want to focus. I didn't care to focus on the craft. I cared to focus on the light. My whole attention was on that light. And because that's another thing. Why did I mention this all the time. Why would you look at the source of a light, like the where the beam was shooting at? Why did I look there first?
It's because it's compelling. All light is compelling. And if it's a really bright light and if it has blue in it, it automatically draws your attention. If you study up on psychology and what grabs our attention as humans, what'll alert you to things, bright lights, blue, white lights, those are the first two that'll get your attention.
I hear that all the time. People describe UFO lights and it entrances you. This is why I think we use blinking lights on police cars and paramedics and stuff, because you will notice it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was very consuming.
Hypnotherapy was really young. Doctors would use a pin light that was very bright, and they would make you watch the light.
I think that would be bad. I think that if I were to, for me, I feel like I have this feeling, I guess you can say, that I wouldn't be able to handle what happened. Afterwards. That's kind of the feeling that I get. Like not that I would have a psychological breakdown, but that the experience the memory of whatever that was for me would be so terrifying. I wouldn't be able to mentally and emotionally handle it in the moment. And it would, because even to this day, I don't have it as much anymore because I've been doing a lot of work on myself mentally and emotionally trying to, but I used to, for the longest time, and even again, up to this day, I do stay up at night sometimes because I'm afraid that I'll see them again, because I've seen them before. I've seen them. At least one.
All right. Well, I still have a couple of more questions.
Sure. Yeah.
How long did that whole experience last when you were seeing this?
Maybe a few minutes, because maybe not even a few minutes, like maybe like a minute or two. It was just it did feel slow, at least in terms of me. Like, again, why did I like walk over and like slowly peel the curtains aside and casually just look at the light? It maybe a couple of minutes at most. And then as soon as it light, slowly moved towards me and it hit me, I just blacked out. I don't know. And when I got up, by the way, it was daylight. The sun was just coming up. So there was a lot of missing time. It was pitch black dark outside. It was nighttime. And then when I opened my eyes in that moment, just a blink of an eye, it's daytime. It was daytime.
How did you physically feel in the morning?
I didn't feel like anything. I just normal, like I would normally feel. Nothing special, nothing, nothing enhanced or anything. Just a regular, day to me.
And did you ever dream about it, or have any unusual dreams, or anything shift at that point?
I had a lot of apocalyptic dreams after that for some reason, but weird ones. Like I guess it was because I was a kid, but I had a dream that like the world the world was terraformed by a cartoon invasion of these cartoon aliens that were terraforming the earth into these really bright colors. And if you think about like Candyland, that was essential. There was like candy lava everywhere, and people would try to avoid touching this whatever this was, because it would change them into this is ridiculous.
No, this is significant.
it's just a dream, it's just a dream. But like I had dreams like that, like the world was ending, there would be like lights falling from the sky, and then I knew the world was ending, or like there'd be UFOs in the sky, just watching. They were just watching the world fall apart almost. It was like they were seeing these craft were literally just watching a cataclysm happen in real time. And I would have them over and over, just reoccurring dreams of the apocalypse. And a lot of the time, it was just these craft watching the world descend into chaos.
No, I think that's hugely significant because I do hear it a lot. This is a message people get often from childhood. And I'm kind of connecting it to myself right now because that was the age where I became obsessed with disasters, whether it was tidal waves or earthquakes or landslides or anything like that. Yeah, I was absolutely obsessed. And that was around the age I probably did have a missing time incident. Can't say for sure.
Oh, man.
But that's
sucks not knowing. It sucks not knowing.
Yeah, but like you said, I think that's the cause of missing time. If we're not ready to process it, this is not supposed to be a part of our life, and we're just supposed to carry on and do whatever we're supposed to do. It's not going to come into our awareness until we're ready.
I don't know when I'll be ready, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it, guys. I swear.
Well, I still have a missing time incident from 1992. That.
What happened? If you don't mind me asking, what happened with yours?
Yeah, well, I was driving along. Let's see, 1992. That would make me 65, 75, about 27 years old. Yeah, and was just driving on my way home. I was neck deep in UFOs at the time in terms of studying them. Yeah. But this little ball of light came down, dropped in front of my car, right in front of the windshield, darted back and forth a few times, and off it went. And that's all. I completely forgot about it. Like you said, I mean, this wasn't something I even shelved. I did not remember it until a couple of months. And then I did remember seeing that, but I don't remember driving home. I should have turned around. Wow. My brother and sister-in-law were like 3 minutes away. I would have gone, oh my God, I saw a UFO. You're not going to believe it. Nope. So I don't know what happened. Well, I suspect I was taken on board. I suspect you were too.
I think so. I think we both were. I think also there were more accounts that I don't remember at all. I'm almost certain there were a lot more.
That's very likely.
Yeah.
If you're being contacted that young, you're a regular. So.
Yeah.
Regular.
All right. I wish they'd tell me why. That'd be appreciated. That'd be well appreciated.
Well, I have my guesses, but yeah, I'd love to hear what happened next. And yeah.
Well, that was kind of what started my journey from there. I just kind of, I kind of began as a kid, just like looking into it, dabbling into TV shows and, stuff like that, documentaries. I read a ton of book. I used to live at the library. My family called me. They thought I was just weird because all I would do is just try to figure out what's going on, studying science, studying psychology, studying philosophy, studying the nature of reality, a little bit of physics. At that age, I didn't understand it, but I did when I got older. There was a lot of things that I wanted to know, what is the nature of reality now? Because this is like, there's nothing in my reality that tells me that that's also going on. But it's going on. And by the way, I'm not the only one, because there are so many people that have these accounts that I found out about through research at that age that are experiencing the same thing, and sometimes way more. And Dolly, far more explicit experiences than what I had. Right. So I knew there was something going on. Why is it not mainstream news? And
because I'll give you an answer to that. Okay, this is important because you need to hear this. Everybody does. If you're having a hard time remembering contact, there are a few reasons why. One of them is that your abilities are switched off. You're being pushed away from them. Our society is geared toward that. Fear is the number one reason you're having inability to use your abilities. The second one is the world that we live in has been very, very unforgiving about contactees. And if you talk about it, you're considered weird and odd.
Yeah.
We're also being threatened with violence constantly, wars, people beating each other up all the time, people hating each other all the time. These things affect us to the point that it shuts us in, so we can't go out of ourselves and pick up on what's really real. We're living in a very heavily constructed reality by the powers that be on this planet, and it's not pretty. And that's why.
Yeah.
I think you just answered Maggie Smith's question. Maggie Smith asked, and I wanted to, just because I thought this was interesting. If
Yeah.
you grew up where you could see the stars, how could you think that this is it? Because
Exactly.
Dolly just answered it. We're trained to just stay stuck in this paradigm that
Exactly.
limits our perceptions of reality.
That's right.
So that was a great explanation. Your timing was perfect for that explanation there.
Yeah, well, it's totally true, and it's no coincidence because
Yeah.
the cover-up is real.
Yeah.
There's an enormous amount of time, money, and effort being put forth by, I'll call them the secret government, to make UFO witnesses look like liars, idiots.
Oh, they don't have to. You think this is so interesting because you would think like, oh, if the government's hiding this stuff, well, how come we don't find out about it? Because all they need to do is make you look crazy among your peers, and you won't say a thing.
Right.
It's what's happening with the military personnel who are witnessing these things, and they won't talk about it because they just recently said, and this is a crazy admission, Bryce Sable just recently said that, oh my gosh, pilots were deleting evidence of witnessing UFOs because they didn't want to receive the backlash from their superiors. They would get a stain on their record, and they could lose their pilot. They could lose their ability to fly again.
Their whole life would go down the tubes.
Yeah.
I have a term for this. It's called mafia training, worldwide mafia training.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We don't tell,
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed a pilot once. He says, I asked him, "Can I use your name?" He says, "Yes." His name is Toshi Inoue. He says, "Please use my name. I want to come forward." And I think he, decided no more. I am not dealing with this.
He's a hero. He's a hero.
That's
what I call a hero.
The biggest reason everybody's confused. Okay, and this one's important to me to relay to you. We are lied to constantly. We lie to each other. We lie to ourselves. We become delusional. Our governments don't tell us the truth. Lying is the acceptable norm of communication on this planet.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is number 2 on the list. This can cut you off at the neck. It can de-evolve you in ways you can't even imagine. It's important that we all stop and think about what we're saying out loud and what we're thinking to ourselves, because reality is reality. You can't change it. It's always going to be in front of you. You just have to want to see it for what it really is, and people got to learn that.
Preach, sister. It's true, man.
I know.
It's true. And we'll talk about your famous quote whenever one of these days, but it's my one of these days.
You want to die stupid, okay?
It's my favorite quote. I still to this day have been using that so often. It's my favorite. I tell my kids that. I tell my unicorn that. Everybody knows now. If you die stupid, you got to pay for that.
It's karmic. I'm telling you, it's karmic.
It's karma. Yeah, that's so awesome.
Face it, you get to the other side, the first person that greets you is, how come you didn't know what was going on?
You all the signs and you didn't even.
It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And you have to work on it. I mean, you have to work on it. E.T. has a saying. My dad taught it to me, and I realized much older that he learned it from them as well. And here it is. You ready? Know all that is knowable, then proceed. Okay? Don't open your mouth. Don't say anything until you know you're talking from fact, from knowledge, from experience, that you're actually employing what you're doing. When you do that, you speak with authority. That's where true authority comes from. And truth is a type of authority if the person speaking that authority, truth, has the experience laid in and they're employing it. It's not hard to figure out how that works. And we live on a planet where there's not a lot of that going on right now. We need to do that. We need to all work at it every day.
That's an awesome, that's amazing. By the way, your dad was an awesome person, clearly. I hear a lot about him from you, and he seems to be a really awesome guy.
He was one of my heroes. He really was.
Clearly. Yeah.
He was one exceptional dude. My mom was pretty exceptional too. Some people say that I downed her or whatever in the book, and it's not that I did that. I wanted to tell the truth, and sometimes the truth is hard. And don't get me wrong, I love my mother. I love my mother greatly. Okay, I admired her. She just had this issue. And it was a big one, and it was hard for me to work with her for that.
Same thing. My mom was one of the most, I always see my mom as one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. But she had some serious issues that people would say caused me trauma as a child, none of which I thought about. All I can think about is how much she loved me.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
That's all I can think about. So
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think it's hard for a lot of parents to deal with the whole UFO issue too.
my mom did not judge me at all, and I've talked to her about UFOs, and I never told about my experiences before. But ironically, I never told my mom about my experiences. She's watched me, so she has to know by now. But she's never judged me for looking into the topic. She's actually looked to me. And this is a good feeling, by the way, guys. My mom has looked to me to understand things in life because she knows that I'm a very astute person. I read a lot. I'm always looking for.
You're a searcher, a seeker.
I'm a seeker.
Yes.
I'm a seeker. Yeah.
Yes.
And she recognized that, and it makes me think that she trusts my ability to figure things out on my, and that's a good feeling. Because when you're a kid, you think you know everything. Well, your parents tell you no, you don't. Well, my mom embraces the idea that her son is really figuring things out in this life.
That's awesome.
That's a huge compliment from a parent. That's awesome.
My dad could never accept that I investigated UFOs. One day I came home, he was so excited. He's like, look, here's what Roswell was. It was the mogul balloon explanation had just been released by the Air Force.
Oh,
it's
man.
like, see, like, Dad, no.
That's the first explanation, Dad. The third one is
yeah, most of my family did come around, but my dad never did. Not to the day he died. God bless him. It's fine. But yeah.
My mom sort of did right after my dad passed. He passed away, and it was very cold. It was below zero. It's like 20 below. And the third day after he passed away, he told her before he died that he would make it known to her that he was on the other side and that he was going to be with her. And she even asked me, do you really believe all this stuff? And I'm like, yes, Mom, I do. I know it. Right. And we had to let 7 dogs out of the house in 24 degrees below zero that night. And that's cold. We were in a parka. Yeah. We had a couple of blankets wrapped around us. Yeah. We're standing at the back door of the house, pushing them out the door. This light in the back never worked. I bought this house and it never worked. I tried everything, electricians, everybody. It was just sitting there, a dead dummy light. We were about 5 minutes out the gate waiting for him to come back in, and the light blinked on and off and on and off and on and off. And my mother came unglued. She was like, oh my God, it's real. It's real. And I'm like, yeah, that was his signal to her. Okay. She knew it was going to be 3 or something. She just didn't know it would be the light going on and off. And she was dancing around for days after that. And she very slowly started to realize that, oh my God, this is real. And we had a couple incidences in the house before she passed away. She was like, okay, they're here. All right. Okay.
It's real, guys.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to your chat. Your chat is, guys, I want to thank you for opening up about your experiences. Some of you are talking about your experiences in the chat. It takes a lot to do that in public. And I can tell you, at least, I think that especially with Preston and Dolly, that you're safe here to share those things. And you're safe with me as well, because again, it is very, I think that opening up like that lets other people know that it's okay to be vulnerable, especially among like-minded people. And people will learn from your sharing of your experiences too, by the way. So it's a good thing. And I appreciate you guys doing that in the chat.
Thank you. We love everybody who shows up. We really do.
Yeah.
At some point I want to start putting up questions, but I'll usually do that the second hour.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm so glad you're paying attention to the chat, because
of course I'm always multitasking.
I'm glad y'all are. Just so everybody knows, I have a phone that I have to hold up to my eyeballs to see the chat. I am farsighted. I have binocular vision, and anything from my hand to my face I can't see. So I'm sitting in front of a computer. I can sort of see everybody's faces, and I see blur. Even with my glasses on, I cannot see it. It's a handicap.
Well, I pop up little quotes like from this one from Gray Troll, Preston and Dolly, and another great guest. So
thank you, guys.
I will let you know, Dolly, if it's a question. But yeah, I'll be popping this little nice comments every now and then, just because it's fun. And I like to interact with our chat. But I'm eager, Marquise, to hear what happened next. That was so scary.
Yeah. It was so the first time was more benign than the second one. The second one was far more visceral for me, and I get uneasy, so I apologize if you notice it. I do get it, but I don't know why I've told this story so many times. Why do I get uneasy? Because it's so real, guys.
Because you're actually reliving it. That's like PTSD.
Yeah.
We relive certain memories, especially as you call visceral ones. They feel real to you in the moment, and you put yourself back there. I'm going to give you a piece of advice when you're talking about it, okay?
Yeah.
Just remember, as you speak and you're saying it and you're looking at it, you're looking at a movie screen of the past. It can't touch you. It can't harm you. It can't do anything to you except you watch, and that gives you a chance to pay more attention to the smaller clues in what you're saying and seeing in your mind. In other words, that's how I remembered everything. I literally sat down on the floor, closed my eyes, and just went into it. I relived the whole thing, and it popped. I popped, and I woke up. And you could probably do that too. The only thing you don't know yet, and you need to figure this out, is that you're afraid of what you don't know. Yeah. And the easiest way to be unafraid is to put a light on it and to show every corner of it and realize that what you're witnessing is the past, and make up your mind at the end of the memory. Don't be afraid of it. Save that for the end of it. Okay. If it's necessary to be afraid at the end of it, be afraid. But if it's not, shine the light on it, relive it, and see what's really going on, because you're not a child anymore. You're an adult, and you have more knowledge, way more knowledge now than you did then. You understand things 1,000% more. So that's how you do it. Okay.
I will take your insight into consideration. I will tell you though that, and you're aware that it's almost like you fall into your body in those experiences.
Right. Exactly. I know. I did. Trust me, I did.
Yeah. So, but I will tell you guys, the second one was far more, like I said, it was more intense. I was engaged in researching a little bit heavier. I was in my early 20s. I don't know how old you think I am, guys. I was in my early 20s, so about 10 years ago, and or more, who knows, and going through a very rough time in my life, staying at my cousin's house for the time. And they lived in an apartment with a 2-bedroom small apartment that had a kitchen, living room, and kitchen, dining room, and living room, like kind of back to back to back.
Okay.
And you can see through the whole house. So if you walk in the front door, you can see all the way through the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen to the back door. And the back door was a glass door, so you can see through that as well. So if you wanted to, you could see all the way out back to the backyard.
Okay.
There's a reason why I mentioned that specifically, because I remember the time about 11 o'clock at night. Okay. And I was laying down on a living room floor in front of the TV, which was kind of adjacent to the door. And I got this feeling like, oh my God, like they're coming. And it was an overwhelming terror. Like there's no fear that you can experience like this fear. I've told people before, if I were placed in the middle of the ocean on my own and they cut my arm off and I was bleeding to death, where sharks were surrounding me, I wouldn't be as afraid. I would embrace death. This was more terrifying than that, because I've thought about this. And I had that terror, and I just thought, oh my God, they're coming. I wasn't thinking about them. Why are they coming? And that thought will always resonate with me, because I don't know why I said that. Why did I think that? Why did I say that? Thank you so much, John. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. But I was, man, I looked up and I knew they're going to come. They're going to go right through that door. And when I looked up at the door, the all the way to the backyard where the glass door was, there were 3 gray beings that just went straight through that door. And the weirdest thing to me was that, like, you would think that you would see, like in the movies when people go through walls and stuff, there's like a phasing or like maybe a wiggly weight. They just went through the door like there was nothing there. Like it was nothing there. And all 3 of them weren't walking. They were hovering, which was the creepiest thing. Why are they hovering? I don't understand why they had to do that. And so not only are these creatures walking through walls, which you're not supposed to be able to go through walls, they're hovering. the big heads, the big black eyes, the pure skin, like the grayish, bluish gray skin, the
Right.
one-piece suit that was like cut off at the neck and the wrists, if they have wrists, the
Yes.
long fingers, the whole thing. And they were just hovering towards me. And I kept thinking to myself, like begging, please, like not now, not this time. I'm not ready. Like literally begging, like I was begging them to not do this. And as I was begging, you know, futilely, they surrounded me. The three beings surrounded me as I was laying down, just an even smooth, like floating around me like this. And then when they got to their positions, I thought, I will not forget this time. And again, I only had one experience that I remember, yet here I am as if this has happened many times before.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
it's
thought of
common.
them brings,
Yeah.
this is
You,
so
it's
weird.
common. You're doing what everybody does. No kidding. I've done it. I've
Yeah,
done it.
Yeah.
Whitley Strieber talked about this.
Yeah.
Because each
Oh.
time was a new terror because he had forgotten it so many times.
Yeah.
See, this
Did
is
you
why
ever
I wonder.
mentally pick up any communication from them at all?
That's
Did
where
you hear
that's what's
voices?
coming next. Yeah. So when they surrounded me and they got into this position, like each position, my feet to the left and right side of me, I said, I'm not gonna forget this time. And I looked up at the clock, which was there's like a, you know how I don't know how to explain it, but like in the middle of a room that there's a connecting rooms that are open like that. There's like this curved, arched like walkway kind of thing. It's just open, but it's an arch. There's a clock hanging from that arched walkway or that arched, you know, whatever. And it was 11 something at nighttime.
Mhm.
And I just thought, I'm not going to forget this time. And when I looked back at them, one of them was leaning forward in my face, like right here.
Yeah.
And all I could see, my whole vision
Was that
was the
face?
big eyes, the face,
Yeah.
the tiny little slit for lips, and no ears that I could see, just in my face.
Yeah,
And
they
in
do
my
that.
mind, yeah, this is guys. I can't describe to you the level of fear. And in my head, calmly, don't worry, we won't hurt you.
That's right.
And then I blacked out.
Yeah.
And then when I opened my eyes in a moment, it was 3:30 in the morning.
Yep. That's an average contact, 3.5 hours, 3 hours. Someone
It was
between
bizarre,
3
man. That
Yeah.
was bizarre. So
So what did you do? I mean, at that point,
I never talked about it until I met my fiance.
and-
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just decided that I don't know. I just again, it's what am I gonna say?
I'm going to ask you
Who am I
some
gonna tell?
questions. I want to know because you got the memory going on. In their eyes, when you looked into the dark eyes, could you see a pupil at all?
I don't think so.
Definition.
I know that the only thing that I could remember about their eyes was that they were sleek, like
Yeah. Yeah.
very sleek. That's the only
Yeah.
thing that I could think of.
That's a lens, just so you know. They can't operate in our place here because any light in the room blinds them. I have the same problem. They're photophobic. They can't handle any
I have the same
light
issue,
coming at them. Yeah.
Yeah, I have the same
And
issue.
so they wear dark lenses,
Really?
especially during the day and especially on craft because there's lights everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, I prefer being in dimly lit rooms, which is why my office is like
I
this.
totally understand.
This is another question I asked contactees. Do you have light sensitivity?
Very much so.
Yeah,
Very
you're
much.
ticking
It's
the
terrible.
boxes, just so you know.
It's terrible.
You got
I didn't. This is okay. So this is interesting. So analyze me, guy. I mean, by all means, like I'm an open book here, man.
Yeah.
I'm open to any questions you guys have that would help me understand, maybe, or even
Okay,
if it's
well,
just for
let
the
me ask
sake,
you a question. Do you one of the this is I'm talking from knowledge now, okay, and I want to try to help you with something. The reason that they float or they levitate, and that's a word that you use, levitate, is they're beings that can manipulate light and they can manipulate dimensional space as well. And when they're in phase, they don't touch the ground, they're above it. It's like seeing a ghost walking through the room. Okay. They're not in the same dimension with you. They're walking through it.
Yeah.
That's how they walk through the door. They're not in dimensional space with you. They're in like fourth dimension at that point. And they just walk right on through to you. The reason
I wish they would have just walked or like transformed into a person.
he wouldn't
Maybe.
be able to, he wouldn't live 5 minutes if he came in physically. Not at all. There's no way he could
And
have survived.
Michael Wright asked me, yeah, I did have sleep paralysis because I could only move my eyes and my head.
Right.
I couldn't get up, and my arms were tight to my side, really tight to my side.
Yeah, that's
So
abject perfect fear. Just so you know, it's not sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is when you go to sleep, your brain produces a hormone that physically paralyzes your body. You can't even open your eyes. You're gone. Okay. But the type of paralysis that you're describing is from abject
I
fear.
couldn't even think about, guys.
Right.
I couldn't
You
even
almost
think
can't
about
even breathe.
running or getting up or nothing
Right.
like
You
that.
can't breathe. You can't move. You're
No,
like frozen.
Yeah.
That's perfect
Yeah.
fear. And the reason he got up in your face and said, "Don't worry, it's okay," is he knew it. Okay. And he's trying to calm you down. There was no mean to harm you. He just wanted you to be okay.
Well, I don't know if it was a boy or like a male or female. It
They
just was a very
always say
soft.
he, I
Yeah.
attach he there.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
to be clear. I wanted to be clear,
They're not
be
really
honest here.
he's. They're kind of
Yeah.
that's an AI, Gray. What you meant.
No,
You're just-
Ricardo's question here is one I'm thinking about, because this was, did cause you a lot of fear, and yet they didn't actually do anything to you. So why do you
I don't
suppose there
remember
was
anything. Yeah.
a strong
don't
fear
know.
reaction?
There are, if I were to give my opinion, this is, when I look at the abduction phenomena, I see a lot of different experiences, but there are some consistents. Like there is a persistence among abductees, and it's usually that there are medical experiments done and things like that are quite painful. I will say that for myself, I don't know if that's what happened to me, or if at any point that I may not remember an abduction experience that happened to me. But I think that the fear is, I honestly think it's just a natural effect of being around them.
Well,
I feel like there's something about
question. Do you like to be in control of yourself all the time?
Dolly.
Who doesn't?
No, I got a problem. I got a problem.
He has a problem with that. Forget I can, hear things.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why you're in fear. When you don't feel like you gave permission for this,
I didn't. Yeah.
Your conscious mind, your physical mind is different from your consciousness. This is a computer, and you're indwelling your body to use this computer to move around.
Yeah.
Okay.
The funny thing is,
physical mind has to give permission in your estimation, not your consciousness. They're in contact with your consciousness and your physical mind at the same time. But if your physical mind isn't ready for it, or you've locked them out and you're in that much control over yourself, you people don't realize this, and I'm giving you a big heads up. If you ever have an ET contact ever again, for any reason whatsoever,
I'd prefer not to.
Okay, tell them that. Tell them we're done, no more. And they
It's a lack of control. I think that most people have told me that what they really have a hard time with. They don't,
I heard some people in the chat saying, "Oh, I would love to have that." Listen, I am 35 years old, all right?
Yeah.
And as a 35-year-old adult male, I still sometimes I have this, like, if they, like, there are nights where I stay up because I'm gonna face them. If they ever come back, I'm gonna face you. You're not gonna do this to me again. Where I'm not aware, not again. And so that is my mindset, where I'll stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning till the sun comes up, because I refuse.
That explains a lot, Terry. Yeah, a lot of people do.
I know adults who sleep with night lights.
I do. Listen. I'm just saying, guys. Like sometimes I'll sleep in my office with the door. I get what you're gonna do. A lock. They can walk through the wall. I'm just gonna face them. They're not gonna get me without me facing them. That's kind of just how I feel. Like I'm gonna look at them, and you're gonna.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. When you say that to them, and they say, "All right, let's have a conversation for 5 minutes," will you say yes?
I don't want to face them.
Okay, then be very firm and say absolutely not. Go away.
I don't want anything to do with it. I mean, I would prefer that whatever, and I have a perspective, Dolly. You're always trying to educate me and challenge my perspective, which I appreciate, by the way. I don't want to be in an echo chamber. I tell my audience this all the time. I want people to tell me I'm wrong, because that's how we grow and we learn. And if you're stuck in your own head, and I'm one person with my own experiences and my own learning, there are people that have learned a completely different field that I know nothing about. It takes someone to challenge you from another perspective.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Opportunity to verify or deny it too. That's the process.
Yeah. Linus Sutherland has a kind of interesting question. When these ETs came in, and you say they're hovering, how far off the ground were they?
Well, if I were to guess, I would say they were about 2 to 3 feet off the ground, which is pretty freaking high if you think about it. It was just like unnecessarily, like, why are you floating that high? Why are you? I honestly feel like the purpose was to put me in a state of mind where I would be most vulnerable, and something that shatters your idea of what's possible, what reality is, like that would throw me off completely. You don't know what to do in those. What are you gonna? If a lion comes in the room, what are you gonna do? Run. You know you're gonna have to run. You gotta hide. You've already imagined, like, okay, if I fight a bear right now, this is what are you going to do when these creatures that you hear are from outer space and have all this technology come into your room and walk through walls and hover off the ground? What are you going to do? Does anybody have a battle plan for that? Because I don't have an idea. And I think that's the point. The point is to like shatter your defenses so you don't have a response to what's happening to you.
Well, it's kind of a triple whammy. It's one thing to deal with creatures that you've never seen before, and then they're moving through the wall. That's kind of different.
What am I going to
do? Okay, there's a lot going on here.
Did you have any paranormal experiences growing up? Where do you have psychic moments and things like that, or telekinesis or anything like that?
Okay, well, before we get into that, Silent Listen has a question about this experience.
Everybody asked me about smells.
Did you smell any odd odors in your dark bedroom before the experiences?
No, I don't remember anything. The only thing that I can remember is there were a couple of times afterwards that I've wondered if I had missing time, but I was too late at night. Maybe I was just tired. I can't put anything to it. That I smelled sulfur. Like that's the only thing that, like a couple of times throughout my adult life where I smelled sulfur during one of those experiences where I experienced fear and terror, but I don't know what it was from. I don't have any kind of like, oh, I saw light. There was nothing. I just smelled sulfur. I thought I went to sleep because when I lay down and then, it was a regular night for me. I'd say like one or two times I had that.
By rotten eggs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was strong. It was really strong too. So that's the only thing. But again, those are experiences I got no real context to what happened around that experience. So.
All right.
And how old were you for the second one?
The second one, I was 23 or 24 years old because that's about the time that I went through the bad period of my life.
Okay. Now, when did you...
Robert is asking, let me see. Let me pull this up.
All right.
What year was the first and the second event?
Oh, my gosh. I'd have to calculate that. I mean, I would say maybe 2005 was the first event. Anyway, 2003 to 2005 was the first event. And the second event would be about 10 years from today. Well, 12 years from today. So it's 2023. So 2011. Maybe. I mean, that's the only thing that's about. I'm guesstimating here right now. If you guys can see my in real time here, I'm not sure, but I was 23, 24 the second time. I was 11 to 13 the first time. So and I'm 35 now. And that's what math I'm working off of.
Okay.
All right. So well, I'm interested to hear about the paranormal stuff too, because that comes hand in hand.
Yeah, the paranormal stuff was is much more difficult because, well, there's a lot of stuff, but the most notable ones that I can tell you about are when I was at my grandmother's house in New Jersey around the time that I had that experience. I called it a demon, but it was a creature that was really tall, really skinny. It had this really sharp teethed grin with these beady little eyes, and its legs were bent backwards. Again, muscular, skinny type creature. I called it my demon. And in that room that I slept in, that I told you guys about, that had the pull-out couch, this is hard to describe the layout of this bedroom or this house, but another kind of where the kitchen, the dining room was separated by a hallway, an open hallway that led to the side entrance to the house. And then after that was a dining room, and then the kitchen, and then another living room. And they were all open. It's all open space. But to the left of that, if I were to look down the way, were several openings to another hallway that led to all the bedrooms in the house. Okay? This creature would wrap its fingers around each walkway. Like it would wrap its fingers around the walkway and peer its head with this grin that would just slowly creep over. And it never hurt me. But it would always just peer with its long fingers with fingernails that were really sharp. It would just smile and then grin and look at me with these beady eyes every time I went to the bathroom for weeks. And I would try to hurry up, and it was really creepy. And I would try to run to beat it from one side because it would be at the far end of where the kitchen was. So I would try to run and beat it. And I don't know how to, this thing was fast. Okay.
Yeah.
It would just dart. Like it would be there and then it would be all the way up. No noise. No, just boom, be at the other side. And it would slowly creep around and smile like, no matter where you go, I'm right here. Almost like
it? Say, get out of here, I'm gonna beat you up or something? Or
are you kidding me? I was very young. I was terrified. Now, you would think that this would, okay, just a kid that was afraid. Guys.
It had your number, apparently.
Well, let me tell you why this was more troubling than you can imagine. Because a few years ago, I told my daughters about this experience.
Ooh, they've seen it.
And they would worse. So they would tell me, I guess this isn't worse because they didn't see it. They would say, "Oh, you know, Daddy, tell us about your demon again." And okay, we're not talking about it. It's just I was a kid or whatever. One day, I described this thing to my daughters before. Mm-hmm. One day, my daughter comes and yells, "Daddy, Daddy, I found your demon," and I swallowed my heart because I thought, "Oh my gosh, I brought this thing into my children's life." And my oldest daughter was like, "Daddy, I found your demon," and she comes in the room, and she's like, "Look." And she shows me on her phone a YouTube video where somebody depicted my demon.
Okay.
The fast creature, the legs bent backwards, a tall figure, the beady eyes, the big grin with the sharp teeth. Everything that I described to her was in a YouTube video decades later.
Yeah.
Why? I don't even know what do you do with that kind of information, right? Because like now it's more real than it ever could be. Somebody out there saw the same thing. And so,
you know, we live in dimensional space, right? In other words, where we live is 12 dimensions. Right now, where you're sitting, and I'm sitting in Preston, there are 12 dimensions all on top of one another. We're in the same space, but dimed out dimensionally. It's like there's a doorway or a veil between each dimension. We cannot see into the next dimensions, but the ones higher than us can see back at us. A lot of people describe having guardian angels, and it's literally beings who are living in dimensional space with you, who watch you your whole life and pay attention to you. And they interact with you sometimes when they think you're in trouble, and they will try to help you if they can.
I used to reject that idea. And then I came across someone who I trusted, who was this, and I'm a guys, listen, I know we're talking about these weird experiences, but like, I'm a pretty grounded individual when it comes to my perspective of reality. Not so much anymore, but because I see that it's much more weird than you think it is. So when it took a lot to angels or what? Come on, like get out of it. What are you talking? This is just wishy-washy. Then I talked to somebody who provided me with very compelling information,
right?
And undeniably, there's an entire other realm that exists right here.
Right.
We just don't see it.
We're right next to one another. Now let me make the case for you. The reason you see it is because you are psychic. You're more open than you were when you were younger. You're having experiences, and you're actually able to see it. And it probably grins at you because you see it. Okay, it's like
it didn't hurt me either. It didn't hurt me, by the way.
Of course not. They won't. They can't. They physically cannot harm you at all.
Well, this is something all contactees go through, because once you're a contactee, it opens your psychic abilities, and you start seeing shadow people, having out of body experiences, precognition, mediumship.
That's another thing. I don't know if people can talk again, guys. I just want you to hear me out here, okay? I was in the corporate world. I was a multi-unit manager. I was in business. I was a salesperson. I was the guy that had it all under control. Dolly, you probably can see it before I ever said anything. And so, because Dolly, she pegged me from the first conversation, and it's bizarre when somebody does that because it's almost like they have insight into you and you never told them. So I was that guy. Like, for me to look into these kinds of phenomena, I rejected cryptids, I rejected Bigfoot, I rejected if they're aliens, what does it matter? I got things to do.
Right.
Like that's what I thought. Even with my experiences, I thought that. Right. But again, I have a feeling that we're all going to be exposed to these phenomena in the very near future, and I think people are going. That's the ontological shock that's being talked about by government officials, and I think you need to pay attention to what's going on right now by by people far more credible than myself, far more educated and intelligent than myself. And again, I believe you should probably be looking into that stuff.
Right.
For
Yeah. We have our magnetosphere is going down, and it's letting in a lot more energy than we're used to. And people are waking up. This is a time where people would be waking up. Whenever there's a calamity or catastrophe coming, people intuitively pick up on it, and they start developing rapidly, sort of offset what's going on to prepare. Lots of people are sleeping every night and knowing something's coming. They're just not quite sure what it is. And yes, your abilities wake up, and then you start seeing things that are actually here with us in this dimensional space, and you're going, oh my God, what is this? And it's gonna get a little hairy scary for some people, because
some people,
you know what you're looking at, it could put you off a little bit, you know.
I'm ready because you know, I feel like I am at a point, Dolly, where even with the fear, I'm ready to face, because what are we gonna do, guys? What are you gonna do? You have to face it.
Right.
You're not gonna be able.
Much more healthy.
We didn't come here to have it easy at all. We came here to learn and experience things, good, bad, or indifferent. And we all will leave here. That's a fact. Okay, one way or the other.
Everybody.
And once you face that about yourself and about what's going on around you, you learn to gauge your responses to things. You learn to perceive them a little bit more emotionally. What's the word? Maturely. You know, count to 10. You take a deep breath. You go, okay.
Courage. Have courage. You have to be courageous.
Yeah.
We have to take a quick station break here.
Okay.
So hold on for 1 second. I just want to let everyone know you're listening to The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is...
I do that all the time.
Dolly Saffron. And our guest today is the wonderful Marquise Williams, and we are streaming live on the United Paranormal Radio Network, 107.7 from the beautiful city of New Orleans. Also the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3. We're on a number of other platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Roku, I think it is.
Yeah.
And this is episode number 13. And I know you guys have some questions, and we're trying to get to them as we go. But yeah, Marquise has quite a number of stories to share, and I want to hear more about the paranormal stuff. Like, have you had precognition? Because, you know, I've had a lot of witnesses tell me, oh yeah, I could feel them coming. And when you said that, I'm like, I bet he's had more precognitive events.
I have.
So I'm curious about that, because I experienced that a lot when I started having out-of-body experiences. And, I would love to hear some of your precognitive stories.
Yeah, I could. Are we going to? Because I can tell them right now. But if you're going to break, by all means.
That was the break.
Okay.
Station ID. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of, and just I want people, please, audience, listen, and I just want you to understand. Again, I rejected these experiences for a long time because I don't want to believe that they're anything but they're not worth even mentioning. That's what I thought. But again, the more that I learn, the more people I talk to, the more people that educate me on these things, the more I realize they are of the utmost importance. So let me begin with when I first started to mess with the I hate to say that, some very interesting phenomena, like, for example, out-of-body experiences. I was practicing for quite some time how to go out of my body, and one day I finally achieved that experience, and it was the coolest thing at first. So I was laying down in that again, this is all in New Jersey, just so you guys understand. This is the oddest thing is a lot of things happen in New Jersey. I was laying in bed and I was practicing and doing the meditation practice, the exercises, the vibrations, the vibrational energetic work for my energy body. And then I finally sat up. It was like my body floated, because instead of moving your physical body with your muscles, it's hard to explain, but it's like you intend your body to get up instead.
Right.
So I finally sat up and I kept saying, open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes. And I opened my eyes and then I could see. And I turned my head around without moving my body. And I mean, like, this is so weird. 360, 360 without moving my body. And there I was laying down. It was so creepy. So, and I wasn't scared. I just was like, wow, But then I turned back around really fast. Like my head just snapped back in front of me, right? Like this. So I'm looking ahead and I could see for miles. If I wanted to look like 20 miles down the road, I could just see all the way through it. The sky was as clear as it's ever been. I could see all the stars in the sky. Everything was just so clear. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. Like I'm doing it. And then when I said that, all I heard was like the sound of 1,000 voices. It was like the whole world was screaming everywhere all at once. And it freaked me out. So I was like, oh, no. Yeah.
Wow.
But it didn't end there. Because when I went back to my body, finally, because the screaming was freaking me out, I got my body, my actual body, woke up. And when I looked down at the foot of my bed, there's a hooded shadow figure. And instead of being scared and like I just said, who are you and what are you doing? What are you doing? And it was almost like it like urged me to go back, like lay back down, go to sleep. Didn't say anything. It just stood there, just staring at me. Hooded shadow figure. And then I just laid down and went to sleep. And then when I got up, I heard an ambulance. We're in the middle of the woods, guys. Where the heck does this ambulance? You got to understand. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's like a 20-minute drive to civilization or houses.
Right.
We hear an ambulance coming from the most desolate part of the road. Like there's 5 different directions. The most desolate part, an ambulance is coming from that direction. I get up for some strange reason. And I go in the kitchen. My grandfather's in the kitchen. My grandmother gets up. She comes to the kitchen. My cousin gets up. She comes to the kitchen, and my uncle comes into the house and comes in the kitchen, and we're all standing there, not saying a word, just staring in different directions, just staring. And then all of a sudden, the ambulance passes, and then we all just like do our own thing. My uncle makes a sandwich. My grandfather gets a drink. I go back to bed. My cousin goes back to bed. My grandmother goes back to bed. The next morning, I told my cousin, man. This is when I was a kid, so I was living with my grandmother. I said, I saw a shadow a hooded shadow at the foot of my bed. And she casually says, Grandma saw a light, an angel floating above her bed last night. It's like, no way, you're lying. My grandmother gets up and she said she woke up and there was an angel, a light being hovering above her head. My grandmother is a Christian woman, okay? We're talking church every Sunday. God loves, she's a Christian woman. Right. She said she saw an angel, whatever, light, whatever that was. And I saw a shadow, but like, it just was such a weird experience.
You all had a lot going on. Yeah. Well, you how do I put it? You amp things up every time you practice being psychic or doing out of body, anything that's, psychic, you using your consciousness at all. Yeah. It amps the air up. It amps all the, everything, the magnetic resonance of the house, it all goes up. And it's not just you're affecting everybody else in the house. And it's like opening the door for everything to come in. And that's why other people saw what they saw. You actually opened the door.
I wish I could get sometimes I wish I could just get my family, my family in Jersey to get together and talk about that night.
You should.
For like a corroboration, because it's been so long since we talked about it.
Yeah, tape it, record it, Yeah. Those are things, good things to remember. When I was growing up, every time psychic ability was encouraged in my home. Okay. My mom didn't like it, but it was encouraged. My father especially encouraged it. And so did my great grandmother, who I was raised with. And when something happened, we would all sit down and talk it through. What did you see? What happened? What are we doing? And then we would practice talking to one another psychically. My mom could call my dad before he was miles and miles and miles away, and she'd tell him, "Don't forget this." And he'd come home and say, "Look, I remembered for you." Things like that. Just weird things. We practiced communicating psychically with one another. It was an encouraging thing. And I wish more people would think to even try it, because you've got young kids in your house, right?
Yeah.
They're psychic little beings right now. You haven't discouraged them, right?
No, I teach them techniques to try to be more
practice
intuitive.
with them.
I love the psychic stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody.
I want to put another question. This one is a good one. This is from Robert Allen Yaffe. And I like this question because this is a pattern I've noticed. I interviewed a guy who had a major UFO encounter. I said, anything going on that was major before that? And he's like, I was having this huge breakup with my girlfriend. Another lady I interviewed, Geneva,
So funny.
was having a
So funny.
real low point in her life
That's
when
so funny.
she went out and had this major
These are the
encounter.
moments that make
So-
me feel like this is more. It makes everything more real for me because like
So yeah, so Robert Allen
Yeah.
Yaffe's question is, did you have significant events preceding these encounters?
my father passed away the first time, and I had a divorce the second time. I figured I might as well just be honest with you guys. I was going through a divorce the second time, which is why I was staying at my cousin's house. So one of the worst times of my life, guys. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah.
I was distraught. I was in a very bad place. So
So
That
do you
makes
feel like
sense.
somebody was trying to tell you something or try to, guide you in
you
a
know,
certain
my
direction?
everybody that I've met, even my children, asked me, did they change me? Did they make me this way? When I was younger, I was a complete idiot. I was not very bright.
All right.
I wasn't very bright at all. And then, I just went on this path afterwards to meditate and to learn about myself and to read and study and educate myself. And I'm talking years. Like that's all I cared about was trying to understand what's going on. And it just carried. It's just one of those behaviors that carried on forever. And I changed. The first time was like I woke up, like whatever I was supposed to do in terms of searching, I started then the first time. The second experience was when I realized that I needed to change my life in a different way, which literally led me to this. So I could attribute each one of those encounters to why I'm here today. I don't know. I don't really know, to be honest, but at least I can say that my father died the first time. That's when I had the experience. And the second time, I was going through the divorce.
That makes sense. When I had my first real out-of-body experience, I was so depressed. My mom had passed away some couple of years earlier, but I just couldn't get over it.
Yeah.
And that's when I finally had it, and it helped for sure.
Yeah.
Sent me on a quest.
There are many catalysts in life that spring us forward, even here amongst ourselves. People can say, well, this person affected me and it changed my life. That person, some of us have ETs affecting us and changing our lives because they see that we're on a path and they're encouraging us to go to it, And I don't know, you keep asking yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this what they want me to do? And the simple answer would be absolutely yes. Spread the truth, tell the truth.
I saw Sean Cahill, and this is the kind of person that would convince me that I'm not like, this isn't just wishy-washy, right? Because I hear a lot of people that I feel like they experience stuff, but like maybe not me. Like when I listen to your story, I'm like, yeah, Dolly can because she's awesome. I'm just a dude, right? But like when I think about somebody who would make me think that I could also be like, these are real to me, it's somebody like Sean Cahill. We're talking a ex-military guy, veteran, respected, intelligent, very intelligent guy. If I were to, let's just put it this way, if I were to kick back and, I don't drink beer, but I drink wine. Let's say he has a beer and I drink, drinking a little wine or something like that. We would have philosophical conversations for hours on end. I could see it. And he talks about bending spoons. Why? Why would he do that? This is a guy that's involved with the Nimitz encounter. Why would a guy of that caliber be doing talks on bending spoons? Because
he can.
Again, there's something there.
Yeah,
There's something there.
going on. We are all exactly. This is one of my pet peeves about life here on this planet. We are all the same. Every last one of us. We're no different from each other at all. And we have unbelievable locked up potential inside ourselves. We have greatness, each one of us, across the planet, the globe, in the universe. We're awesome. And all we have to do is let it out, work it. And nobody's anybody better than anybody else. I'm just a person, just like everybody else.
Yeah, but you've had some really fantastic experiences. I mean, seriously, I don't want them because I don't think I'm the right person to have those experiences.
I have a reason. You want to know what the reason is? Honest to goodness. This is my last time here. I'm done. I came here for this. I'm doing
I ain't coming back to this.
I'm not coming back. I'm so done. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's ironic because you have these very intimate encounters with beings. Preston is a prolific writer, and like together, oh my gosh, the power you guys have in this world.
They told me to go talk to him.
No
I'm not
way.
kidding you. They told me, made me write his name down because I'm not good
Yeah,
with names.
I watch you, Preston. I because I want to learn about the encounters, and you have so many videos about encounters.
Right.
If
I'm
anybody's
impressed,
gonna, yeah, I got to tell you guys, if you want data points on encounters, you got to follow this channel, because I need, like, this is the kind of place that I go to when I want to learn about all the abduction experiences and the encounters and the healing. It's like a resource for me for abduction experiences or contact experiences. I know people don't like the word abduction. You call it what you want to,
Right.
but
It's
that's where, this
contact.
is where I go
It's
for
just
that.
plain and simple contact. Abduction is a negative word that you've been taught to use, and it's wrong. It is absolutely wrong. Erase it from your memory. You are not being abducted. You're being contacted.
I'll work on
Just
that.
like if you were to meet somebody on the street and want to help you
Yeah.
out of nowhere, that's a contact. You're being contacted. Whether it's from a being from there or somebody here, it's all contact. We're communicating with one another. It's pure
Yeah.
communication.
Well,
And-
I appreciate what you said, Marquise, because that's exactly why I do that. Because people don't have a recourse or a resource, and there's so much disinformation out there. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I really,
It's important, man. I think what you're doing is really, the first time I was just so, I appreciate that you even gave me the time of day. When I was a literal nobody, which I tell myself I'm nobody, but I can't do that anymore because people do notice me now, right?
Yeah.
When I was a nobody.
I watch you, Marquise. I watch you all the time. I watch you on Dave's channel. I watch you when you're interacting. I listen to what you say. I listen to a lot of people. Okay?
we're all of somebody. We're all an integral part of this universe.
Right.
I believe the same thing.
The ability to bring points out to people that nobody else would think of. That are
Different perspectives. Yeah, perspectives. Or people
very
need. I
good
think
at
we all have our audiences, and each one of our audience members wants something different from each. They don't go to, and not everybody's going to everybody. Right? They go to each person because it resonates with them, and we all are like a beacon for different people in this world.
Right.
So
exactly.
Well, I'm going to pop up with another question because I like this one from Magnus Zetterquist. Have you developed the ability to heal or predict the future? We've talked a little bit about precognition, but healing
I will
is
tell you.
Yeah.
So I will tell you this, and it's ironic because I rarely ever get sick, ever. I have gotten sick, just to be clear. It's just really rare. And I mean, like, really rare. I don't know about healing other people, but in terms of myself, the irony is that I do have health issues. Like, I'm still a human being. I'm not like a god here, guys.
Right.
But when I mean heal, but what I mean by heal is, like, in terms of the everyday average sicknesses that people go through, like, how are people always sick all the time? I don't get those kind of sick, like colds and stuff like that, or like, I don't know. I don't get them. And when I do, they last for maybe 24 hours and I'm fine. It's the oddest thing. I will say this. When it comes to the precognition or the clairvoyance, if you will, which kind of encapsulates, it umbrellas a lot of different phenomena with those psychic abilities. I used to be able to, and I guess there's a remnant of it in my conscious experience. I used to be able to dream about people, and I would think about someone before I went to bed, or if I wanted to know something about someone, I would dream about them, and it would be like a story would unfold that would answer my question about that person, and it was never wrong. It just turned out, and I would try to tell people about certain things, and especially at first, it was like, oh, I got to tell them, and they would be so angry because, first of all, I'm not supposed to know that stuff, and secondly, who am I to tell them about themselves? And it's not like, oh, you need to be a better person. No, just like, listen, I've been thinking about you, and I think, is there something that is going on you want to talk to me about? If you want to talk, I'm here. They would talk, and then I would give them what my dream would kind of, the information that they would give me, and that's where it went wrong, where people would reject what I had to say because they weren't ready to hear it. And again, I'm not talking about like telling people how to live their life. That's not what I'm talking about. It's like telling them about something they need to be aware of. Right. Something that they're having a problem with. I don't know. And I would have insight into their problems. This is going to sound stupid. I'm going to sound like an a-hole right now. Because think about it. Like, oh, you know what's going on? No, I would dream about them. Or I would dream about whether or not somebody was safe to be around. And
tapping. That's what they call, ET calls tapping. You're on the surface. You're going in the surface of who they are. You're visiting them. and you're feeling what's going on with them, and you're tapping them, and
Yeah.
their consciousness is telling you what's going on, and then you go back with the information.
Well,
That's
I
called
turned it
tapping.
off. I turned it off
You
because
did.
because it interferes with my life, man. I mean, you can't, like, you go through your life, you have these experiences, and then you have to live life too. You have to live the
Yes.
civilian, the
Sure.
everyday life. Why it was such an, it would interfere with my relationships to the point where it would ruin them. And so I needed them to stop. I needed them to stop so I can just be normal, so that I can have a life and fit in and not be so odd, for one. Because I was a bit odd because I looked deeper into things and people ask questions. I didn't like small talk. I like to get really deep into conversations with people.
Yes.
That's hard at parties, isn't it?
It's hard at parties. So
I know
let me
that.
think about me. The funny thing is, I had to learn how to be a regular person. Now it's like people say, "Oh man, you're so easy to talk to. I love being around you. You're so much fun." It's like, that's not who I really am. Who I really am is the guy that gets you to tell me about your whole life
Right.
problems and your experiences, and who are you? What do you think you are? What do you think about the universe? What do you think about God? Like, do you believe in life? That's the kind, and I don't mean those exact questions, but those are the kinds of directions that my conversations go in naturally. And
That
so
contact you
Dude,
just,
I love that.
that's number one. I grew up with the same problem. I had a really hard time with friends and being in public and stuff. Because
but people don't like that. People don't like that because it's the same reason why I turned it off, or the same reasons why people didn't like it, because they have to live their life, and these questions divert them from living their normal, civilian life. I should say,
I'll tell you where I learned it from. I learned it from ET. My contact with them, being with them all the time, taught me to think that way. Literally taught me to think that way from a very early age. So,
I don't have conscious recollection, so I don't know how I got that. I don't know what's going on with that.
Well, that brings up this question from Jay Yarbrough Music. Marquise, why don't you want to do hypnosis?
Because I heard about what happened to Whitley Strieber. I heard about what happened to Terry Lovelace. I heard about what happened to the thousands of abductees throughout the last 100 or so years. And I'm not interested in if those experiences happen to me, in recalling them.
Well, what if it's something amazing, like they took you to another planet, or they healed you, or
I think if it were, I wouldn't be. I think that a part of me knows,
because that's entirely possible.
Yeah, it is. It is very possible. I think it's unlikely, though, at least for myself, because the nature of the contact phenomena is one of a traumatic aftermath. There's a lot of trauma that's associated with these experiences. Even if they did that study where people said there was like 5,000 people, and most of them said, I don't want to stop them. Whitley Strieber, by the way, said he wouldn't give it up for the world. Right. Let's not get it twisted. Most people want to continue the experiences.
I want to give you a correlate. This isn't telling you to think this way. I'm just maybe by way of understanding something. As a nurse, I deal with patients all the time. And I have people that come in there and know nothing about medicine, nothing about medical treatment, and they're injured badly. They're in a lot of pain. They're scared to death. And we have to do things to them to save their lives. And it doesn't matter what we say to them, they're in that state of mind. And short of knocking them out, it's an ongoing saga to get cooperation from them so that we can help them. And I mean, I've been bit, kicked, stabbed, and then afterwards, nurses will try to work with the patient to make them understand. They'll tell them every little detail. They'll explain why we're doing this. Da 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 da. Some people totally reject it, and then some people go, "Oh, I didn't know that," and they become completely calm. They start to not enjoy the experience, but at least they're okay because they know it's going to help them and heal them. Okay.
I will not bring negativity.
Yeah.
I will not bring negativity to your channel. Off the record, we'll talk about that sometime, and I'll explain to you what my position is and why. Because you always challenge me, and that's why I appreciate. Again, Dolly, I we'll talk about that some other time. But I will say that my perspective is painted by different strokes.
Okay.
Well, this is one of the big controversies and the real sensitive issues, because people do feel a sense of violation. They feel a complete loss of control. This is not something they asked for, at least not consciously, and that's what matters. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and it absolutely does cause trauma.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
I've
no doubt about
I've
it.
read John Keel's books, man. I've read John Keel's books. I've read David Jacobs' books. I've read, even if you read Richard Dolan's book, Speculative Analysis on the Alien Agenda, there's a lot more going on than just one thing. And
Right.
I can say that for myself, I personally prefer to be cognizant of a potential problem with some of these beings. And that's kind of how I feel. I do think that there are some, obviously, that are good and that want to help us, obviously. But I am keenly aware of another, at least group of them that is not here to help us. Not to kill us all and eat our, drink our blood. Just because if they did want to do that, right? We've been here for quite some time, right? Yeah. No, I get a different impression. I think that there is a uniqueness to us, regardless of what people say, that we're not that special. Well, they wouldn't be interacting with us if we weren't. And so
there's an issue on this planet that you might not be very well aware of. And we'll talk about that too. I'll give you a heads up to it. It's the people that are on this planet have been working for years to make you believe and say just exactly what you did. And they will use mind control. They will use drugs. They will use anything to turn you if they think you're a contactee. And that might be what your problem is.
There's no doubt evil forces on this planet.
Yeah. I can tell you what, if ET, I think that there is an intelligence that has the power to walk through walls, control my cognitive environment, manipulate my perceptions, wipe my memory, control, and also give me any kind of experience that it wants to, as well as change my genetics potentially and my biology. And these beings can outperform all of our military equipment, and they don't even do anything. They just show us they're just better, right? They don't have to attack. And I think that if they wanted to, they would make themselves known tomorrow, but they don't. And you have to, and for myself, I have to ask myself this question: when 800 million people are suffering from hunger, insecurity, when 2 billion people are suffering from economic depression, and I mean in terms of whether it be starvation to not having electricity in extreme climate areas and the likes, I feel like if there is a being that can change this, you talk about energy, right? There is a technology that operates off of what people call 0-point energy. I'm not sold on that necessarily, but whatever it is, they can produce the amount of energy that's produced from a nuclear power plant in a small 30-foot space without any exhaust, no heat signature, nothing, producing no chemical waste, no effect on the environment. They're not tearing a hole through our atmosphere by producing 500 Gs. They've got something that could revolutionize society, civilization forever.
And let me ask you a question, and I'm going to put it to you because I hear what you're saying. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Absolutely, point blank. You put yourself on the other side. You have children living on a planet that you planted there, and you expect them to evolve and reach up to you so that you can gift them with these things.
Yeah.
And what you see is what we're living now. As a group together, we cause these problems. We are the authors of our existence here. And now here they are, knowing that if they were to hand any of this to us, we're not mature. We have no reason to be able to handle it without using violence or turning it into something bleak and bad. And until we change ourselves, until we grow up, until we mature, until we understand that peace and love and giving and holding and cherishing and everything else and seeing each other as helping each other are not going to help us, not 1 second. And I have the ability to know this because this is what they taught me.
I've heard that from other contactees as well. They've said flat out, it's up to you to solve your own problem.
Yeah, I think I want to respond to Rad Peanut real quick, and I want to. This is in response to what you just said. There's 2 things that I want to say about that. One, me and you both know we might not make it. I mean, the civilization is not doing so well. So if the objective is to allow us to figure it out, we're not gonna be able to survive that long if we keep the way that we're going. And I'm talking so.
We're in unsustainability,
yeah. Right. And the second thing is to that's the what if we never change. Red Peanut, there is a clear effort to make sure that we never change, whether it be by humans or otherwise.
Right.
Someone doesn't want us to change, and they are
Right.
using some very interesting methods to make sure that
They're
doesn't happen.
They're absolutely here. They want
Yeah,
control.
and-
Here we
yeah.
go with that control, ego being very large. You're
Yeah.
going to live and die on this planet. No offense to anybody, but we are born here and we die here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a fact. What
Yeah.
you do between those two moments in your life are paramountly up to you. And what everybody on this planet needs to understand is you follow somebody else, you give up your right to make your own decisions. Okay? Each of us are autonomous beings. So are ET. And every last one of us must make the decision to evolve, to wake up, to move forward. To
I agree,
quit
yeah.
being slaves to
Yeah.
somebody else or guinea pigs or whatever you want to call it. The minute we do that en masse in this planet, you'll see things change rapidly because
Yeah.
that kind of energy elevates you in a
Yeah,
matter
I
of
think this
seconds.
is exactly why people are being contacted, because the whole
You're the
era, the modern age of UFOs,
Yeah.
coincides with the atomic age, when we had that ability to completely destroy everything. And that's
Right.
when they came down en masse and said, "Wake up."
Oh
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I will
And
say this.
influence
If
as
you
well.
if you guys agree, if the audience, if you agree with Dolly and Preston, I would say don't listen to me with this issue, with this specific thing. You gotta ignore me because I'm not an
No,
optimist.
not-
with it.
I don't discount what you say in the very least, not at all.
No,
Because you're on a quest
all
to
voices need to be
Yeah.
heard. Yeah.
right. It's
So
your
here's-
job to figure this out. Literally,
It
Marquise.
is. I agree.
You know?
Okay,
Okay.
I'm bringing up another question because we have like 20 minutes left, and I want to get through
It's ironic.
as many as we can. And Magnus Zetrikvist is asking, have these experiences, I'm assuming, inspired you to turn vegetarian or become environmentally aware?
Yes, and ironically, I don't know about vegetarian because I do milk and stuff like that, but I'm actually on a liquid diet, and I have been for almost 2 years now.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
So I mean, I eat soups, of course, but like the only thing that I would touch that's even solid at all would be mashed potatoes. So, yeah,
Well, I'm a
yeah.
mashed potato freak. I love mashed
yeah,
potato.
man, yeah, man.
Okay, and another from Magnus. He's got a lot of them. Owls.
So I haven't seen any owl like the owls in the window and the owls that are the size of humans, right? The freaking human size owls. haven't seen anything like that before that I can remember. No.
Okay, here's another one from Robert Allen Yaffe, and I'm thinking this applies to
It's an
your
interesting
childhood
question.
experience because this came at 9:30, which is over an hour ago, when you were
Yeah.
talking about seeing the beam of light come down. Did you feel static electricity?
That's
at all?
a really interesting question. So like there's this feeling that you're inside of an area of space that's like different. There's something different, like a shift or whatever. And that there's a blue tint to everything. Like I keep saying bubble, but I don't know if it's an actual shape of a bubble. I just call it a bubble, but it surrounds the entire immediate area that you're in.
Yeah.
That's
It
what it
almost
feels like.
looks
You
opaque,
can,
right?
like it's thick.
It's like looking
Like-
at everything opaque through that blue light.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah, and I thought that it was an ambient light. I thought that it was just blue ambient light.
No, you're in phase. You're absolutely out of the dimensional space you're in. You've actually been brought into phase with them. You're outside.
So
space.
what inspired you, Marquise, to sort of open up and start talking about this and going, doing podcasting? And
It's going to be interesting to hear. You want to know what inspired me, guys?
yeah.
Yeah.
Lou Elizondo.
cool.
When I saw a guy of that caliber, again, I speaking from a position of a veteran, right? When I see a guy like that who has the credentials and the intelligence and the way that he talks about the phenomena, and also humanity, where he has this hope for humanity being able to handle the truth. He has this hope that we will see it for what it is versus taking one perspective. Versus, he actually says, Elizondo gave this idea that the Pentagon thinks they're demons. Some people in the Pentagon think they're demons, or the DOD or whatever. But like, that's just an old paradigm. That's a religious paradigm that they hold. We don't know what it is. And then he gives a scientific alternative to it. This could be something from another dimension. It could be beings from, it could be, but extraterrestrial, that's not the only, there's something much more dramatic, or I should say more exotic going on here. And to think a little bit wider or broader about the phenomena. But that's what got my attention. Explaining what these craft are doing, giving a name to the phenomena that we see in the skies and characteristics of their flight patterns. That's the kind of thing that I want, that I can use in a conversation. And so I knew, okay, there's information I can use to talk about what I know is going on now. And then there was I learned about, you know, from him to Christopher Mellon. It's like, holy guys, Christopher Mellon, are you kidding me? We're not talking about like some kook out there who, by the way, might be telling the truth. By the way, if you see a crazy person who's like, the aliens, I've seen them, they might be telling the truth. They're just crazy. Like, they're also crazy. So it's not that they're not credible. It's just you can't use that as a reason to say there's something else in our reality. That's what did it for me.
Yeah.
And then seeing that there was legislation coming through, seeing the DOD's assessment on UAP, that was it. I knew it was time. I'm gonna embrace this, and I want to talk about it. And so I just started this path now, like this, from that.
That's awesome, actually. You know, that's absolutely awesome. I wish everybody had that idea. You know, I really do.
So those two major encounters you described, are those the only ones that you are aware of?
For UAP, for the
UFOs?
aliens, for UFOs and alien extra, you know, non-human intelligence, now they call them, whatever. The Greys are the only ones that I saw. That experience was the only thing that I had that I can remember. I can't remember anything else that I can think of in terms of the UFO and the alien experiences. When it comes to the paranormal stuff, there are plenty, but when it comes to the most notable ones that I have vivid recollection of, the ones that I told you about are the most vivid ones. And then the clairvoyance, if you will, to kind of blanket over psychic phenomena, the dreaming was the only other thing. You get feelings, but everybody gets feelings, but I have a very good sense of certain things about people, people.
Right.
I also have this ability to recall information in a very unique way.
How so?
So
You're talking to somebody with the same problem. Go ahead.
So there's a technique that I use for mostly for reading, but also for information. I got it from a guy named Paul Sheely and another guy named Win Wenger. They're both accelerated learning specialists who teach people techniques to adults, techniques to help them relearn how to learn through hypnosis and meditations and things like that. And I use their technique where they take a book. I don't have Michael Masters' book over here, but take a book, they turn it upside down and backwards. And then you look at the book and you try to see both pages. And the focal point that you use is a way to bypass the conscious mind's desire to want to read every single word. And then I flip through each page, and then I say a cadence. And I do it at a very even pace. 1, 2, 3, 4. Relax. Recall. And I just hypnotize myself into this cadence. And I do it backwards, forwards, backwards again, 3 times. And then I put the book aside, I close my eyes, and then I see the book in front of me.
Yep.
And then that's how you kind of do this technique.
Eidetic memory.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. When I went to art class, that's what they had us do. They had us turn the pictures upside down and draw it upside down. You could draw much better because your mind sort of paints over what you think it looks like.
Wow. Yeah.
Instead of actually seeing it.
Well, your eyes actually see everything upside down. Your brain flips it over.
Filters it.
So if you flip it over, your brain is having to immediately pay attention to every little detail of it because it's trying to make the flip again.
Yeah.
And you're holding it in stasis, and that's why it goes straight into your mind.
That's so interesting, Marquise, because so many contactees I talk to have some really interesting memory things going on.
Yeah, I do a lot of techniques. I like to have fun with visualization, especially. But it only works for information. Like, I'm not a genius. I just like information just is easier for me to comprehend and understand because I have a process.
Okay, I'm going to bring on a little bit of a non sequitur question that goes us back to the creepy entity that we saw. Because when you're describing that, I'm like, well, gosh, that doesn't sound like an ET. The tall thing with the backwards knees.
Oh yeah, I don't know what the freak that thing is.
I mean, that sounds to me like some low-level spirit, but I don't know. But
Well, keep
Maggie
in mind,
Smith's question is, could this be an entity that feeds on fear?
I will give you a very short version of what I think. I think potentially, but I will say that the phenomena, and when I say the phenomena, I mean UFOs and extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence, has been associated with cryptid encounters throughout history. Fairies, for example, there's a rich history of fairy lore that talks about these fairies that used to essentially take children from local tribes, and then they'd return them, of course, but they would take them, and then they would talk about these bizarre experiences with fairies, which were just essentially orbs, if you will. There's a rich history of that. I think that I honestly just think that these are all byproducts. I think they're all byproducts of the phenomena, and I think it's all the same thing. I do not think that there's a separation between what we call cryptids, if you will, and the UFO phenomena. I don't think there's a separation. They may seem that way, and this is my perspective, by the way. This is not the gospel, but I think that if you look at the history of contact with this other phenomena, other than the reality we experience every day, it's all connected in some way. In some way, it's all connected. So,
yeah. Well, I certainly get that question a lot, and I totally agree. I'm kind of on the other end there. I think we are dealing with extraterrestrials. I think Bigfoot's a Bigfoot. I really do.
I think they're yeah, but I just don't know what that is. What is it? Is it theirs? You know, is it
Symmetry in
theirs?
the universe. Everything is related to everything. We all, if you're alive and breathing, you have DNA, and every entity in existence has DNA, and it's all related DNA. We're all related to one another. It's the same kind of life existence DNA, and we just know it. We're all part of the same thing. The third dimension here, where we're all stuck right now, is a place for us to come and learn and employ what we learn, so that when we leave this dimension and go back out, we're taking with this personal, employable existence understanding of what it is we already know. In source, you know everything, but how do you use it if you don't know what it means or how it exists? So we come here to employ that and then take it back with us. It's important to understand that, you know. It really is. I mean, you can't. Here you are. I'll give you, for instance, here you are in source, right? And you don't really have a body. You can think about anything you want to. You can do anything you want to. You're capable of almost being able to create things. And yet, how do you do that? You don't know. And you don't know what will happen, you know, because the pendulum swings both ways and the pins fall down and the ripples go through the water. Those are all things that we learn here to make us understand for every action, there's an equal or opposite reaction. And we have to learn that before we employ it. And you can't do that without this experience, period, at all.
Okay. I'm bringing up another question.
What's up, Michael?
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Michael Kennedy has a great question, and I certainly have thoughts on what are the group's thoughts on the upcoming congressional hearings. I will let you start, Marquise, unless you want me to.
I've spoken about it exhaustively, but I'll tell you this. I'll be live streaming it. I hope you guys will be too. I will say this. I think that the people behind this hearing, Tim Burchett, Luna, and you know, all of the players in the field know what they're doing. They recognize that they can't do the same thing, this dog and pony show what they did before. They can't keep doing the carrot on a stick. They're facing opposition from the Pentagon, the DOD, and Air Force generals at, you know, Air Force bases. I think they recognize that if they do the whole, well, I can't tell you any more than I've already told you, it will set this whole process back. And I think we are in for a very big surprise. But I will tell you, none of you will learn anything that's new because we're already involved in this topic. We are going to get confirmation of things that we thought were true. We heard about grapevine, there's speculation and lore. We're going to hear some stuff there that is going to confirm definitively what we've suspected. This hearing is not just for us. It's mostly for the general public to become more aware of these topics and to make it real for them, because there are still people who don't even know who David Grush is. They don't know who Russ Coulthard is. They don't know who Lou Elizondo is. They don't know about the DOD publishing a UAP assessment 3 years ago. They don't know. 2 years ago, sorry, now. They don't know. And they don't know about David Fravor and Ryan Graves. So I think that this is going to be one of those things that definitively turns the tide of what's happening right now with disclosure.
I love it. Yeah, I sure hope so. But having been in this field for 35 plus years, I'm a little jaded because it's been only recently there's been any movement at all. And when that Pentagon, there was that first congressional hearing, and they're like, "Have you ever shot at UFOs?" And they both said, Moultrie and Daley said, "Oh no, we've never shot." Well, that was a lie.
It was a lie.
I mean, a flat out lie. And do you know about Malmstrom? No, we have no reporting.
What's that? What is Malmstrom?
So I think the best thing we're seeing from this is that it is bringing a lot of people into awareness of this subject, and it is a step forward, and that's great news. So I just don't trust our government. I'm sorry, I don't. And
I don't blame you.
I won't say Congress so much, but the secret governments. I feel like it's all so tightly controlled, but I'm super excited to see what comes of this, and I hope that more people wake up and just say enough is enough.
You really want to hear what I have to say?
Do we?
I want to take everybody into reality for a second, all right? They've been about this business for a long time, over 80 years. Technology is a lot more advanced than the humans know. They've back engineered quite a bit. They are understanding of factors that you are unaware of, and they know exactly who ET is. They know exactly what's going on, and they have known. They have an agenda, and you are being duped. Period. The end. This is not going to help you. It is not going to teach you anything new. It is going to be a false flag. They are walking you slowly into believing that ETs are out to get you. I want to drag you to Snowden. He's stated point blank, has the evidence, showed it. They want him dead for this reason. They have nothing to do with ETs. ETs have nothing to do with them. There's no cooperation between ET and any world power, anybody. The only people ET shows themselves to are everyday people like you and me. They have shown themselves repeatedly. We have disclosure. It's already here. And what you're going to watch is a dog and pony show to make you believe that you're in danger. This is national security. They have a space force, and the agenda is seriously not pretty. And I'm not going to say it right now. I don't have to. Too many people have heard me talk.
I hope you're right.
Understand that when you hear them talking, to listen carefully to every word they say and measure what they say.
I hope Dolly is right. I'm going to say this right now because Dolly, it would be better to have to face the powers of this world than that of the others. So I hope you're right.
Correct. You're exactly right. And here's the other one. They are not here right now. That's why they're getting away with this right now. That's why everything is suddenly happening very rapidly. It isn't us bringing it out. It's timing bringing it out because we have serious things, ramifications happening all around us. And they now know ETs are not here for reasons. And they are amping up because now they can get away with it. We've been protected largely by ET for many, many centuries, eons even. They've been in our lives for longer than any of us know, iterationally longer. And this is their time to have at us. And I want you to remember what I said.
I'll remember.
Absolutely. And do your homework. Study the science of what I say is going on. It is. It's right there before you. Please don't blind yourself to it. We have a lot of decisions to make. And one of them is, how are you walking off this planet? Because it's coming, period. And they know it, and they're going to save themselves. We are nothing to them, period. So, no offense.
Also expect the surprise witness as well.
Yeah, I know they have. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Mark my words.
I'm not as jaded as you guys are. Just so I'm so glad that I came in at this time because I wonder how I would feel if I've been doing this for as long as you two have, and then this is coming. It's
it's all about national security. Yeah. They're going to consider ETs dangerous, deadly, and a national security threat to everybody, to our airways, everything.
False flag is a big buzz in this field right now. We're going to see it, I think.
I hope you guys are right. Yeah,
as Red Peanut says, we have kickback UFOs. How much is them and how much is the ETs? That's an important thing that we need to consider.
Yeah.
There was a comment made recently. I rewatched this documentary where there was Ralph Blumenthal and Stan Friedman and all. They were kind of mentioning how there's them, there's us pretending to be them, and there's them pretending to be us, pretending to be them. How do you make sense of it, right? It's
No,
like,
you
oh my
don't.
gosh,
No, it's insane. It's insane.
Intuition.
Right. We all have real chances on our side right now. If we all just stick together and work this out and just let the powers to be that know that it doesn't matter what's going on or what's happening all around us. We're facing things that we should work together for. That's what we should be pushing them to go
yeah,
for. Okay,
100%.
period. That is the most important thing we could all be doing as far
Yeah.
as the government. And every time you run to their bandstand and sit there entrapped by what they're saying, you're not thinking that and you're not doing that. And it should be, this is our number one goal in life right now. Sustainability, making our lives okay, understanding what's coming. Don't die stupid. I'm not kidding. You know,
That's awesome.
just don't.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, we're wrapping up for the last 5 or 10 minutes here, so I'm gonna pop a few more questions in if I can. And here's an interesting one from Jay Yarbrough Music. Question to the panel: does it feel that those with higher ascension, those with ego naturally under control of allowing kindness, may be less likely to have ET experiences? I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, look at me, guys. Come on. Well, I'm a pretty to be honest, I'm a very soft man. Like most people would say, this is gonna sound again. I'm gonna sound like an a-hole. There's a new word nowadays. I think it's called Sigma, right? It's the kind of person. It's the kind of usually male figure who they're not alphas. Alphas are like dominant. They take control. They control the situation. Sigmas are more the guys that just know. They don't have to be alphas. They have a control and understanding of their power and their ability, and they're very confident in themselves. I'm Sigma in a way that I don't impose. I just allow myself to be known as what I am, and I also care deeply about people. I'm a very, very soft, sensitive guy. So, and I don't have the positive. Dolly and Preston have a much more positive outlook on the phenomena than I do. Guys, I am on the completely far other spectrum of this. I think that what you guys are talking about is real. I just think there's another aspect that's just as real, but very concerning. And yet, again, I have experiences. So obviously, that's not an exclusive club where only the nice people that are ascended have the experiences. I'm a fear-driven guy, and I've had experiences.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I have noticed, if I may, Dolly, is that contactees are incredibly nice people. They just are. And people who are open to contact, people who this is a pattern I've noticed. People who are, let's see, doctors, nurses, inventors, musicians, people who are teachers, writers, people who are trying to help humanity. Those are the ones ETs are often reaching out to. They're the
It's
nicest.
ironic. It's ironic.
No.
Yeah.
My nature is, I was bred to be this way. My nature has literally been for centuries bred up to get to where I'm at right now. Okay. And one of the things is that I'm number one protective of humanity. Okay. I don't think that any of us should suffer. I don't think any of us should be maimed, hurt, or otherwise. And I'll protect you against anything like that. I will come in swinging. I'm not kidding you. What the problem with that is this, and this is what ET had to curb in me a little bit, is that I have to consider that we all have a choice on how we make our lives. And there are people who are here roaring and acting like egg clams,
Like what?
Well, I'm not going to say the other word, okay?
Yeah.
Not pretty. Anyway, and I can't do anything about what they're doing. The only time I will protect is if you come after me or somebody that I love or somebody I'm near and they need protecting, I will immediately act. And I'm not going to try to kill you or anything, but I will make you understand that what you're doing is not acceptable and you're going to stop now, one way or the other. And I leave no bones about it. And that's my natural intent. I want you to understand this, ETs are the same way. And whether you realize it or not, they've been protecting a lot of us for a long time. I will give you Maelstrom as number one. Maelstrom made a huge show of that to make sure that the powers that be here understand that what they're doing is wrong, and they will shut them down if they have to. And they made that statement, and everybody here is going, oh, you don't understand what that meant when they did it. That was a show of protection against them and humanity. They were protecting us, not
that's a
them.
big event
Yeah,
for sure.
I do want to bring this up. I can't remember the name of the nuclear facility in Russia where they turned them on, which could have literally caused mutually assured destruction. I just feel like there's a lot more going on, Dolly. And again, I respectfully, please, I'm just so you guys know, Dolly and Preston invited me on here, and I have a different view, which means you guys.
Well, we
accept
have to
me
hear both
even
sides.
though,
Yeah.
but I appreciate
Everybody
that
needs
because
to hear both sides.
no, but I appreciate that because seriously, people, I'm not like a doom and gloom guy until we talk about this stuff, and then people are like, man, you are a doom and gloom guy. It's like, no, I just feel like there's another aspect. There's just there's more going on in my mind, and I believe, than just, the positive.
All right. Well, we have time, I think, for one more question. So I'm going to pop this one up from Allison Carr. What does Marquise think about the men in black?
They are not human.
Yeah, I think you're right, because people talk about men in black in two ways: government agents, and then the real men in black.
Right. The real ones, or the ones that have a more bizarre presence. They have a very clear, bizarre presence.
Yep. I haven't
Have you ever written it all down, Marquise, and kept records of all the sightings of men in black, and then figured out what was their agenda and what was going on, and did a statistical data on it at all to try to understand why?
If you're talking about it, my research is extensive.
I'm thinking it is.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I've spent way too much. By the way, thank you guys for being so kind, chat. I've spent way too much time. Most of my research is done through reading. I just kind of full disclosure, reading is where I learn most of what I know. Only this last year has it come from studying. What's up, UAP Studies Podcast? Only has it been through the conversations lately this year that I've learned from people, which has, by the way, expanded my perspective as well. But when it comes to my notes, there's a sickening amount of information that I have. It's almost obsessive, if you will. It's obsessive.
Okay.
Because I want to understand.
And you're trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to wrap it up. So, Marquise, do you have any social media handles or any events or anything you want people to know about?
Yeah, I would say if you guys want to, the best place to check me out is on Twitch at Dimensions of Reality on Twitch. But I am also now, and by the way, this is a new thing, on YouTube as Dimensions of Reality Podcast. They are both all one word. So Twitch Dimensions of Reality, and then YouTube Dimensions of Reality Podcast. That is where you guys can hang out with me. You can chat with me. I talk to the audience. We have conversations. And by the way, my audience, they always tell me I'm wrong. So we have fun with that too, guys.
That's fun.
Michael keeps asking me about the schoolyard encounters. I would love to talk. I'm going to have to do a whole show on the schoolyard encounters. I'm going to bring on some witnesses. But yeah, I want them to talk to Congress about them. I'll talk to Congress, sure. If they invite me.
There's a lot that you have. You have a lot of again, those accounts, man. Those encounters are important.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to wind it up. Thanks so much, Marquise.
Marquise.
You were super awesome. It was a real pleasure.
Yes, we'd like you to come back. Okay.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Very
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right, Dolly, you want to take us out?
Yes, thank you all for coming to the Light Gate. We love you all. Thank you for all your comments and working with us in chat. We will be on next Monday, and Preston probably knows who's coming. I don't have it on the top of my head, but we'll see you then. Thank you, New Orleans United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM and United Paranormal Radio Network 105.3. Thank you all. Good night. Love you.